Shiny Pokemon, a reaction channel's wet dream. It doesn't matter how long you've been playing Pokemon, you see one of these and you're popping off. With a 1 in 8,192 chance, double that since Gen 6, a shiny encounter is one to be celebrated. You have a Pokemon with a completely different color scheme than the norm. It's how owning a legendary Pokemon should feel. This isn't something that was on the box art that's handed to every player. This is something people go their whole lifetime without seeing, and only a few will own. It feels awesome encountering one of these. But not all shinies are created equal. Sure, some are really good, but then you have ones that look near identical to their regular forms. Either that or their shiny form is different, but it's not very flattering. Game Freak loves their green shinies. Hey, I'd rather have these guys over the ones that look the same. At least people will believe me when I tell them they're shiny. There's a number of bad shiny Pokemon, so I figured I'd take a crack at fixing some. I'm going to try to give some reasoning behind each one I come up with, whether it's to reference Pokemon's type, its origin, or something in the real world. And who better to start this whole thing off than the series mascot himself? Pikachu, the textbook definition of a shiny that's barely any different. It looks like he was just left in the oven a bit too long. Now, look, I get it. Pikachu's the series mascot, and they don't want what was essentially the face of the franchise to be unrecognizable. It's why Smash Bros gives him those hats and just slightly tints his body. But on the other hand, other Pokemon who I would describe as mascot-like have unique shinies. Mons like Charizard, Eevee, Lucario, and Greninja are pretty iconic, and their shinies don't really seem to hinder that. But I suppose they're not quite the mascot Pikachu is, though it seems Eevee is getting there. With this need to keep Pikachu recognizable in mind, I decided to go with this. Now I know this just looks like Pikachu with washed out colors, but there's a bit more to this. I based his shiny off his original red and green sprite, with the golden markings and light base color, which I made a slightly yellow-white. I think this works not only as a neat reference to the Pokemon's debut, but it's also pretty recognizable as Pikachu. Again, it just looks like one that's had its colors washed out. And unlike the original shiny, there's no need to second guess whether this is even shiny in the first place. This is clearly different from the regular form, no doubt here. Let's move on to an easy one, Nidoqueen. I'm sure we all already know what this should look like, but to the unaware, let's start by comparing the Nidoqueen line with its male counterpart. In their regular variants, the Nidoking line is purple, while Nidoqueen's is blue. When it came to shinies though, they switched things up. Now the Nidoking line was blue. Well, that's pretty neat. So does this mean the Nidoqueen's line is purple? Well, based off Nidoran female and Nidorina's shiny form, that seems to be the case. Can't wait to see a purple Nidoqueen. Well, that's terrible. What happened here? How can you have the perfect slam dunk for a shiny waiting for you, and then you just fumble the ball? I know I'm using two different sports for metaphors here, just stick with me. There's this belief that before Generation 6, shinies were actually determined by an algorithm, meaning the colors wouldn't be handpicked. I don't know how anyone can believe that when the first two were fine, the Nidoking line was fine, but then for some reason this algorithm just struggles with Nidoqueen? This kind of flubbery can only be caused by human error. Game Freak was designing shinies, and all they saw was the color green. They love this color. Anyways, here's the shiny Nidoqueen we deserved. Not much to say here, I just took Nidoking's colors and gave it to Nidoqueen. Yeah, it was that easy, Game Freak. No wonder they're so greedy, all they see is green! Another example of a barely changed shiny is the unique bug ghost type Shedinja. I love this Pokemon from a design and concept perspective. A Pokemon based off a cicada husk with the unique ability to only receive damage from types it's weak against. That is pretty cool. Would I ever use one? Oh, Arceus, no. This dude can only be hurt by his weaknesses. But he's got 5 of those. One of them's rock, an extremely common type. Oh yeah, and its ability doesn't account for weather effects. If Shedinja goes out into a sandstorm, it's night-night. Still though, a Pokemon as unique as this deserves just as unique a shiny, but unfortunately it's not the case. Or should I say, that's no longer the case. Yeah, something I need to mention is that some of these barely any different shinies are a result of the great desaturation of Gen 6. When the series went 3D, not all color schemes were carried over 1-to-1, leaving many looking washed out. Poor shiny Bulbasaur. Just look at Shedinja's Gen 3 sprites to see what I mean. Sure, this shiny isn't the best, but it's way better than what we have now. It stands out from its predecessor and has this cool ethereal vibe that's just lost in 3D. So for Shedinja's shiny, I decided to change the colors completely so we can avoid another mess like this. Here it is. I know I was complaining about washed out colors, but it works well with Shedinja. It makes him look lifeless. He is a husk after all. The green and purple tinted gray were selected simply because he's a bug ghost type. His halo was also changed to be a dull yellow, a take on the classic golden angelic halo. Overall, I think this scheme really captures the creepy lifelessness to Shedinja, and it looks different enough from the original without being out of place. One Pokemon that can't seem to catch a break from the fandom is Dragonite. While a very powerful mon, there's no denying there's a sizable number of players who are upset this is the final evolution of Dratini and Dragonair. These elegant, beautiful Pokemon end up turning into this goofy, baby dragon looking dude. I can understand the hate, and this shiny certainly isn't doing it any favors. Really cements it as a rejected Dragon Tales character. I don't even think the shiny's that bad, it's just a bit of a letdown. You go from these cool pink shinies to this, and you just feel like something was lost. I think what a lot of people wanted is this, a shiny form that calls back to Dragonite's previous evolutions. The belly now changed to a white, and its dark blue wings derived from the dark blue orbs present on Dragonair. However, I didn't stop there. I also made this other variant, this one being based off the colors of the previous shinies. I made the body a different shade of violet, this one a bit more purple, as I think the color change should be symbolized in the shinies as well, albeit less drastically. Once again, Dragonair's orbs influenced the color of the wings. I think these both turned out pretty good, and regardless of which one, I think these shinies help create a better sense of unity between the three evolutions. You guys want to know an easy way to get a shiny Blissey? Just get a regular Blissey, crank the brightness up, and boom! Shiny Blissey. Add this to the pile of shiny Pokemon that make you squint your eyes and go, is it? It's a shame because Chansey and Happiny both have very distinguished shinies. I'm not crazy about them, but they're not downright offensive like Blissey's. This is another shiny that actually looked better in its premier generation. This time though, it's Gen 3 that messed with the colors. Blissey went from a dark pink to a pink, and Shiny Blissey went from fuchsia to a slightly lighter pink. Oh, I hate this. I saw a few fan edits that switched the pink and white in Blissey's color scheme. These look good, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to take it a bit further. Now, it's obvious Blissey is based off nurses. Its design is based on old school nurses, it's always helping at the Pokemon Center, and in the Pokédex it says that it nurses sick Pokemon back to health. As a nod to this, I decided to base Blissey's colors off a modern nurse, one who in this day and age would wear scrubs. This is it. I know scrubs come in a variety of colors, but blue and green are by far the most common. I also changed the base color to a light red-orange to complement the blue. I toyed around with having the body be blue and keeping the white part the same, but that just made it look like a water type like a Azumarill. Besides, I prefer it looking like a person wearing a blue outfit instead of a blue person wearing a white outfit. I quite like how this one turned out. Okay, this next one might be controversial, but I've always had a problem with Delibird shiny. Not because it's bad, it's actually quite nice. More so, I think it's just a bit of a missed opportunity. Delibird is a Santa Claus themed Pokemon. He dresses in red and white and carries around a big bag of stuff to deliver. He's the Christmas Pokemon. With that in mind, I always found it weird that shiny is the fuchsia color instead of the other color associated with Christmas, green. It's just so obvious. Heck, Santa's suit was at one time green for the red one we know today. Not a bad shiny, just one that could have been a lot better. One line that's had its share of hits and misses with shinies is the Eevee line. Now, base Eevee is fantastic. It's a light gray Eevee. What's not to love? I may be biased though, this was my first legit shiny after all. Sylveon, Umbreon, and Vaporeon are also what I consider to be good shinies. They're fine. But the rest, I have some words. Let's start with Flareon. This guy can't catch a break. Bad shiny, bad move pool, but at least he's cute. Another hard to spot shiny. I originally went with a scheme similar to Shiny Magmar, but I wasn't really loving it, so I ultimately went with this dark burning coal look. I know it's pretty cliche for a fan-made shiny to make the Pokemon black with a colored accent, but I don't really care. I had no clue what else to do, and honestly, I like how it turned out. I used a dull orange to give it a look like it's burned out, and I also tinted the ears red. I like it, but maybe it's a bit try-hard. On to Jolteon, another too close to call shiny. And uh-oh, looks like Game Freak got their hands on the green highlighter again. A common recolor of this is to make Jolteon a light blue, which fits. Blue is one of the top colors when it comes to electricity, but I wanted to take it in a slightly different direction. When looking up storm clouds for research, I saw that oftentimes lightning will emit a purple glow. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. The light purple is supposed to be like the lightning coming out of the dark storm cloud around its neck. You know, there aren't many purple electric types, so I think it fills a cool niche. Next up is Espeon. Game Freak, more like Green Freak. Okay, I'm gonna be nice because I know shiny Espeon has quite a few fans, but I've never been one of them. It's such a vivid green. If it was more subdued like Espeon's usual mauve color, then it'd be better. Though I still think green's a weird choice for a psychic type. When making my fix, I looked at Espeon's parallel Umbreon. The deal with these two is their evolution is decided by the time of day. If you level up a Max Friendship Eevee at night, you get Umbreon. If you level up a Max Friendship Eevee in the day, you get Espeon. Since the night Pokemon gets a dark gray color for the base, I thought it'd be fitting to give Espeon shiny a daytime color scheme. Give the two Pokemon a yin-yang sort of dynamic. Here's what I came up with. Sure, it's just white, another fan shiny cliche, but if Umbreon is basically black, then it makes sense for its opposite to be white. I also switched out the color of the eyes and forehead gem and brought the red more towards purple. I wanted the magenta to be more prominent as I think it better alludes to Espeon's psychic typing. That's the same reason I made the ears purple. Quite like how it turned out, though I'm sure some will prefer Espeon's original shiny. But I don't think there'll be as much debate with this next one. It's Leafeon! Do I even need to say what the problem is here? You guys have eyes, you can see it. Most of us are probably thinking of the same thing for a fix too. Autumn palette. And yeah, that's what I did. I went with a dark red and light orange for the leaf colors, and I gave Leafeon's body an orange tint. I also swapped the dark brown with this dark purple. No reasons, I just think it looked good. And I think it all came together pretty well. But I mean, everyone's had this exact shiny in their heads before, it's just so obvious a pick. So to make up for that, I also came up with an additional color scheme, this time basing it off of cherry blossom trees. I went with 2 shades of pink for the leaves, while giving the body a lighter, slightly pink tone. And I took the dark brown and lightened it up. I figured it looked better with the pink. I really like how this looks, and to be honest, I think I like it more than the autumn one. Okay, now on to Glaceon, another victim of the Generation 6 desaturation. While not an amazing shiny, it used to be so much more vibrant, which helped set it apart from the more subdued normal form. Also, is it me, or is Glaceon's normal model starting to veer towards green? So strange. Whatever the case, I came up with this. I changed the light blue to a stark white and gave the body a much more saturated light blue. And this green-blue accent color I changed to a steel blue. There aren't many colors to associate with ice, so I tried to stay within a blue and white palette. I think it works. Certainly stands out better. Now that Eevee is finished, I wanted to talk about something funny, and that's the fact that Game Freak themselves seem to recognize when they mess up with their shinies. This can be seen in some shiny mega evolutions. One of the most well-known disappointing shinies is Gengar. For such a cool and popular Pokemon to get a slightly darker tone for a shiny is a huge letdown, and I think Game Freak realized this. When Mega Gengar came around, its shiny was not a slight tone change, it was a whole new color scheme. This looks great, I just wish they went all the way and made base shiny Gengar this color. So here I am to follow through. This was pretty simple, just apply the Mega colors to the base Gengar. However, I decided to switch the gray eyes with the pink color present on the bottom half. Gray just looked kinda dull, and I think pink neatly ties this in with regular Gengar's red eyes. Game Freak repeated this with shiny Mega Garchomp, albeit to more mixed results. Shiny Garchomp was another big letdown of a shiny. This pseudo-legendary Landshark just gets a slightly washed out scheme for its shiny. Such a beloved Pokemon yet again let down. So when it came to shiny Mega Garchomp, they made sure its palette was much more distinct. This is definitely a step in the right direction. I could once again just copy the Mega's colors and plop them on the base shiny, but I always felt this was a strange choice for Garchomp. This purple and vibrant violet are a bit too colorful, and I feel something more subdued is a better fit. So I took the purple and brought it closer to maroon, and I took the old purple and applied it to the chest. This looks a lot more intimidating, and it stands out much more than the Mega shiny. Alright, let's wrap this up with one last shiny. Now we're going to fix Charizard. Wait. I'm not talking about base shiny Charizard. That's one of the best ones. No, I'm talking about shiny Mega Charizard X. this one's a bit interesting because Charizard X already looks like a shiny design. It has a black base, but takes the blue from the wings and uses it as a secondary color. The shiny sorta does this with the red from Shiny Charizard. Here it can be seen on the wings and shoulder spikes, but for some reason it wasn't applied to the chest like the blue was for base Charizard X. Instead, they opted to go for a lighter tone of the new dark green base color. And then there's the fire, which they kept blue. I understand that Charizard's fire stayed consistent regardless of if it was shiny or not, but I think keeping the blue just makes this design way too busy. Here's my rework of it. I darkened the red a bit to make it closer to the shiny Charizard's maroon, and I applied a lighter shade to the chest. The fire has also been changed to red. For the base color, I decided to go for gray to help differentiate it from a regular Charizard X. This is by far the most edgy and fan-made looking of all the shinies I designed, but you could say the same for shiny Charizard, so I think it fits. And that's it. Here are all the shinies we made today. What do you think? Do you prefer these, or do you think the originals were good enough? Are there any other shiny Pokemon you think need a rework? Let me know, I might just make another one of these. I want to believe Game Freak will go out of their way to make shinies more unique, but it sometimes feels like the good ones we do get are completely by accident. Either that, or we get, more green.